The front door was unlocked. That was my first sign. I walked in, arms full of groceries, expecting silence and the gentle hum of the fridge. Instead, I heard thuds, boxes being dragged, closet doors opening, Belle's voice echoing through the hallway like she owned the walls. I paused at the edge of the kitchen. My son's shoes were on the entry mat. His jacket was carelessly tossed over my armchair. My heart sank. I stepped toward the hallway, and then I saw them. Milo was in the middle of my master bedroom, tugging one of my storage bins out from under the bed. Belle was opening my dresser drawers, pulling out neatly folded clothes I'd arranged just 2 days ago. "We'll take the master," Milo said, without even turning to look at me. His voice was light, casual, like he was ordering lunch. "You'll be fine in the den." Belle glanced up and gave me a smile. Not warm, not kind, just satisfied. "It has a window," she added, as if that was generous. I stood there for a long second, holding the grocery bag tight. The milk was sweating. The bread sagged slightly in the heat of my palm. I didn't say a word. I didn't raise my voice. They didn't ask. They decided. I set the groceries down on the counter slowly and walked back to the hallway. As I passed the guest room, the den, as they now called it, I noticed my suitcase there, half-zipped, my folded pajamas stacked on the desk I used for painting. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the chipped baseboard in the corner. The last time I saw that crack, I was repainting the room before Milo's visit, wanting it to feel warm, inviting, home. Now they'd given me a corner in my own house. That night, I didn't unpack. I just lay there in the dark, listening to muffled laughter from the master bedroom. The fold-out couch groaned every time I shifted. The bar in the center dug into my back no matter which way I turned, and the hum from the HVAC vent above made it impossible to pretend this was just temporary. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, until morning light crept through the blinds. When I finally pushed myself up, my neck stiff and my legs aching, I moved slowly down the hallway toward the kitchen. The smell hit me first. Coffee, but not the kind I brewed, something bitter, over-extracted, wrong. Belle stood at my counter, wearing my old robe like it had always belonged to her. She didn't notice me at first. She was too busy adjusting the new setting on my coffee machine, the one I'd used for nearly a decade. My favorite mug, the one with the chipped lip and faded bluebirds, sat in her hand. "Oh, good morning," she chirped when she saw me. "We thought you'd appreciate the extra help organizing." I blinked, confused. She motioned toward the hallway. I turned and saw them. Boxes labeled in Sharpie. Mom's stuff. They were stacked neatly by the laundry closet, sealed shut. My scarves, my photo albums, the small ceramic rabbit Milo made in 3rd grade, all packed without a word. "I figured the den could feel more like yours if we cleared the clutter," Belle added, sipping from my mug. Milo walked in then, yawning. He didn't even glance at me, just took a cup and leaned on the counter like it was his. I nodded, said nothing. Later that day, I tried to open one of the boxes. The tape wouldn't budge. They had double-sealed them. That night, I lay back on the fold-out, the spring creaking beneath me. I reached to turn on the reading lamp. It was gone, replaced by a scented diffuser I didn't recognize. I lay there in the dark again. The condo was quiet, but not peaceful. And the next morning, the master bedroom door was locked. The master bedroom door was locked again this morning. I stood there for a moment, hand on the knob, listening. Nothing but silence behind it. Milo and Belle must have gone out. I only wanted my phone charger. It had been plugged beside my nightstand, the one I bought when I finally allowed myself something soft and elegant after my husband passed. It had a single drawer lined with velvet, a place for peace. Now I stood outside that door like a visitor. I walked back down the hallway, passing the sealed boxes. A Sharpie line ran through the word fragile. I wondered if that was meant for the contents or for me. I sat in the den and pulled out my planner. A hospital bill fell from between the pages. I hadn't realized I kept it. Final payment, $18,430. That was the second time I dipped into my pension. Belle had lost her job and Milo was panicking. I remember telling them, "It's just money. We keep each other afloat." Before that, I sold my wedding ring to cover the last semester of Milo's med school tuition. It hadn't even been a conversation. He had called in tears, short on time, short on options. I didn't hesitate. And when my coworkers had their retirement party 2 years ago, I declined, told them I wanted to work just a little longer. But the truth was, Milo needed help with the down payment for their first apartment, and I couldn't leave until I made it happen. They've forgotten all of it, or worse, They remember and they no longer care. Later that evening, I watched them through the sliding glass door as they lounged on my balcony laughing. Belle wore my old sun hat. Milo was sipping wine from my anniversary glasses. They looked comfortable. Too comfortable. I turned away from the window and picked up my tablet. I had a note file open from months ago, one I had labeled in case. My finger hovered over it. Then I opened the drawer and pulled out the trust documents. I was heading to the kitchen when I heard Belle's voice from the balcony. She wasn't whispering. She never did. Her tone was casual, confident, like she was arranging brunch plans. "It's basically ours," she said into her phone. "The lawyer says once it's in Milo's name, she can't kick us out. It's just paperwork now." I froze behind the half-open door. Milo's name. My condo. My home. My pulse pounded in my ears. She laughed then. A light, airy sound that used to mean charm, but now felt like mockery. "Yeah, she won't make a fuss. She hates conflict. It's what makes this so easy." I stepped back quietly, every muscle tight, every breath measured. Later that night, I sat at my desk in the den, the same one I'd used for charting patient records during night shifts years ago. I slid open the bottom drawer and pulled out a folder marked Estate and Trust. The paper was crisp, recently notarized. I'd updated it 3 months ago after my last review with the bank, an instinct that now felt less like planning and more like prophecy. I flipped through the pages slowly, reading each clause as if I were seeing them for the first time. The trust was ironclad. The condo, my pension, the savings account, all secured under my name alone. No joint ownership, no beneficiary access without my written consent. I took out a yellow pad and began writing. Review property lease terms. Contact attorney. Verify clause 14B. Call building management tomorrow. Change access codes. I stopped for a moment, listening. The master bedroom door clicked shut down the hall. Their laughter softened into the hum of the television. I put the papers back carefully, locked the drawer, and slipped the key into my pocket. Then I picked up my phone, opened the camera, and began photographing every page. When I finished, I turned off the light and sat there for a while, watching the faint city glow through the blinds. By morning, I had already decided who I would call first. The call came from my bank. It was a fraud alert. Not theft exactly, but a flagged transaction tied to a business account I didn't recognize. When the representative asked me to verify the address on file, I felt my stomach clench. It was mine. Apparently, Milo had used my condo address to secure a business line of credit. When I asked what this business was registered under, the name was something sleek and sterile, DMV Property Ventures, LLC. I didn't need to ask what the M stood for. That night, I searched the name online. It didn't take long to find it. There, on the second listing, was a luxury short-term rental ad. My condo, my furniture, my view. Belle had listed it under Modern Riverfront Escape, designer owned. The photos were mine. The couch with the coffee stain I never quite got out, the kitchen island where I used to lay out Sunday pancakes, cropped, filtered, staged. Starting next month, the listing said, weekend packages available. I scrolled further. Weekend rentals meant I would need to be out of the way, moved, hidden. The next morning, over breakfast, Belle barely looked up from her phone when she asked, "You'll be in the den during the weekends, right? We'll need the space clean." I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. She kept talking, something about optimizing bookings, towel sets, and guest key cards. Milo chimed in, offering to upgrade my bedroom door lock with one that synced to their phone. They spoke about it like a team, like investors. Not once did they say the word home. That night, I sat with the trust documents again, this time adding my handwritten notes to the margin. They saw me as a stepping stone, a free asset in their little portfolio. But I was never part of their business plan. By the time they turned in for the night, I had already emailed the building manager. I arrived at the building office just after noon. Carla, the property manager, looked up from her desk with a polite smile, the kind you give a neighbor you've only spoken to in passing. She didn't expect anything unusual. I slid the manila envelope across the counter and met her eyes. "I need to update the file on Unit 1403, I said. "There's been some confusion about ownership." Inside the envelope was a full copy of the trust, signed, sealed, and recorded. She skimmed the top page, then flipped through the signature pages and raised her brows. "I had no idea," she said. "They introduced themselves as the new co-residents." "They're not," I said quietly, "and they never will be." We filed a formal restriction notice together. Any attempted changes to the lease, Parking assignment, guest access, or package handling would require my written approval. I had her flag the unit. Everything would now require secondary verification, with me. Then I called my lawyer. By 4 o'clock, the paperwork was in motion. A cease and desist letter was drafted, notarized, and ready to send if they listed the condo again. I signed a contract with an off-site storage service to collect and hold their belongings, if necessary. When I returned home, the door was locked from the inside. I knocked gently. Milo opened it, phone in hand, mid-laugh. "Oh, hey! We thought you were out all day." He didn't wait for a response, just walked back down the hallway like I was a guest returning from errands. I smiled, just picking up a few things. I made a cup of coffee, checked my email, and confirmed the locksmith's appointment for Monday morning. I chose a time when they'd be out, gym class and brunch, according to the shared calendar Belle had left open on her laptop. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make an announcement. Some doors don't slam, they just close and lock quietly behind you. The knocking started at exactly 7. 3 firm raps, the kind meant for business, not conversation. I was already awake, sitting at the kitchen counter with my coffee, waiting. Milo shuffled out of the bedroom in his boxers, rubbing his eyes. "Who the hell?" Before he could finish, another knock came, louder this time. He swung the door open. 2 members of building security stood there, flanked by a representative from management and a courier holding a clipboard. The taller guard spoke first. "Delivery for Mr. and Mrs. Brandt. Legal documents regarding tenancy." Milo blinked, confused. Wait, what?" The courier extended the packet. "Notice of immediate vacate. Storage instructions are attached." I took a quiet sip of my coffee. Belle appeared behind him, wearing my robe again, her hair wild. "What is this?" she snapped, grabbing the papers. As her eyes darted across the first page, her face drained of color. No, this isn't legal." "It is," the manager replied evenly. "The owner filed all documentation last week. You have 24 hours to collect personal belongings. Larger items have already been scheduled for off-site storage." Milo turned toward me, his voice cracking. "Mom, tell me this is just a joke, right?" I didn't answer. I set my mug down gently on the counter. The silence stretched between us until Belle's voice broke it. "You can't do this to us! We're family!" I looked at her, then really looked. The entitlement, the disbelief, the fear behind her fury. It was all the same face I'd seen when people realized the consequences had arrived. Security handed them the second notice for acknowledgement. Milo signed it with shaking hands. Belle slammed the bedroom door hard enough to rattle a picture frame. I picked up the keys I'd left by the bowl on the counter and slipped them into my pocket. The new set felt heavier, sharper. By the time they realized what was happening, the movers were already on their way. By Tuesday afternoon, they were gone. The storage company hauled away the last of their things. Belle's hanging garment bag, Milo's gaming console, a few boxes of mismatched decor they'd claimed were upgrades to my space. I watched from the balcony as the truck pulled away, then turned back inside without a word. I didn't clean their room. I didn't rush to reclaim it. I let the silence settle. By the end of the week, the luxury rental listing disappeared, likely flagged for violation or taken down out of sheer embarrassment. The reviews had started pouring in from fake bookings once I submitted documentation. The condo had never been theirs to offer. Milo's credit, already stretched thin, buckled. I received a notification from the same bank that had called me earlier. The business line tied to my address had defaulted. That account was frozen. The apartment he and Belle had once hoped to lease across town suddenly required co-signers. They didn't ask me. His friends, the ones who'd grown used to catered game nights and rooftop wine tastings, stopped showing up. Whatever glow Belle once curated on social media dimmed. The captions grew shorter, then stopped altogether. A single text came through late Thursday evening. "Belle, you betrayed us." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed only what was true. "Me? No, I stopped funding your betrayals." She never responded. I wasn't angry anymore. That surprised me. What I felt was cleaner, sharper, like clearing away rot you hadn't realized was there. I took the wine glasses from the dishwasher and placed them back in the cabinet one by one. I folded the sun hat Belle had claimed and tucked it into the donation pile. I removed the scented diffuser from the den and replaced it with my old lamp. By Sunday, I'd already changed the guest access codes and canceled the joint calendar. On Monday morning, I brewed a fresh pot of coffee and walked back into the master bedroom. The master bedroom smelled like lavender again. Not the cloying kind Belle sprayed into the vents, but the soft sachets I used to tuck behind pillowcases. I had found one in the back of the closet, still faintly scented. It felt like finding a version of myself I'd left behind. I opened the curtains. Morning light spilled across the hardwood floor, golden and gentle. Below, the river flowed, steady, silver blue under the rising sun. I watched it for a while, remembering why I chose this unit in the first place. It wasn't for the granite or the square footage. It was for that view, for that sense of stillness, of earned quiet. The sofa bed from the den was hauled away the next day. I didn't keep it as a reminder. I didn't want reminders. I donated it to a women's shelter across town and included the coffee table, too. Later that evening, I found the box labeled Mom's Stuff still tucked beside the laundry closet. I opened it slowly. My scarves, my old books, the photo album of Milo's childhood I'd thought I lost. At the bottom was a stack of sticky notes Belle had used to label everything: guest linens, overflow, old kitchenware. I fed them one by one into the fireplace, watched the edges curl and blacken, then disappear. I spent the next 3 days rearranging the bedroom, hung up my favorite painting, ordered new sheets, repotted the fern that had somehow survived their months of neglect. I moved my reading chair by the window. On Thursday afternoon, my neighbor Evelyn knocked with a loaf of banana bread. "Did they move out?" she asked gently. I smiled. "Yes, turns out the den didn't suit them after all." She laughed softly, handed me the bread, and didn't ask anything more. That's the kind of neighbor she was. That night, I sat in my chair by the window, a cup of coffee in hand, feet warm under a knit throw. The city lights danced on the water, and for the first time in months, I exhaled fully. 3 months passed quietly. The seasons shifted. The city softened into summer, and life found its rhythm again. Mornings became mine once more: coffee, the rustle of leaves, the hum of the river below. I didn't think about them often anymore. That was its own peace. The letter came on a Thursday. Plain envelope, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Milo's script, rushed, uneven, written like someone afraid of running out of time. I stood by the counter for a moment before opening it. It wasn't long, not an apology, not even close, just a request. He needed help. Something about overdue accounts, job applications, an apartment that wouldn't approve him without a guarantor. Belle, he wrote, had moved in with her sister. He was alone. I read it twice, then folded it neatly and placed it beneath the candle on my desk. The wax had dripped down the sides from weeks of steady use, sealing other notes, other endings. I let his join them. There was a time when that letter would have broken me. I would have picked up the phone before the ink dried, made excuses for him, saved him again. But that woman doesn't live here anymore. I walked to the window. The river shimmered under the mid-morning light, steady and sure. The plants on the sill had grown wild since spring, roots deep, leaves reaching outward. I watered them slowly, taking my time. When the kettle clicked off, I poured my coffee and sat in my favorite chair. The room was still, except for the soft hum of life returning to its own pace. I whispered almost to the glass itself. "You tried to bury me in the den, but I was the foundation." The city moved beyond me, unaware.